A couple in Charleston paid $445,000 for a catamaran last spring. 11 months later, that boat has quietly taken another $61,000 out of them. Not $1 of it was on the invoice they signed, and she hasn't left the harbor yet. Nothing failed. Nothing was misrepresented. The boat is exactly what the broker said she was: 45 feet, 4 cabins, a flybridge you could hold a party on. She sits in her slip on the Ashley River, looking like the cover of a cruising magazine. And every month a set of bills arrives that nobody mentioned at the boat show, because the man at the boat show was selling a boat. He wasn't selling a decade. The marina charged them a multi-hull rate. The yard charged them a multi-hull rate. The insurance company looked at a hull value nearly double what they'd have paid for a monohull of the same length and priced it accordingly. 2 engines, 2 saildrives, 2 of every filter, every impeller, every anode. 30 years of saltwater on my hands, a lot of it offshore, and I have watched this happen more times than I can count. Not to fools, to careful people. People who ran the arithmetic on the purchase price and stopped there, because the purchase price is the only number anybody at the show will give you. The man in the polo shirt with the financing brochure isn't lying to them exactly. He's answering a different question. He'll walk you across that bridge deck and tell you it's flat, and it is. He'll tell you your wife won't be sick on passage, and she might not be. He'll tell you a 45-foot cat lives like a 55-foot monohull, and that's true too. What he won't tell you is that she also costs like one, every year, for as long as you own her. So let's do the math. 2 boats, 1 couple, late 50s, 3 years out from cutting the lines. On one side, a 2016 Lagoon 450, ex-charter, cleaned up and rigged out for cruising, $445,000. On the other, a 2015 Beneteau Oceanus 45, 3 cabins, 1 engine, ready to go, call it $285,000. Same length, same dream. 2 completely different decades. Let's do the math. First, why this is even a question. 10 years ago, most cruising couples I met were shopping monohulls. Today, it's the other way around, and the market has followed them. Lagoon, Leopard, and Fontaine Pajot poured hulls into the charter fleets, and those boats now land on the brokerage market by the hundreds. Right now, roughly 80% of the used 45 to 55-foot catamarans listed for sale are less than 10 years old. On the monohull side, that figure is 43%. Sit with that. The cat market is young, deep, and liquid. The monohull market is old and clogged. In the production segment alone, there are nearly 2,000 boats listed against maybe 400 sales expected this year. That's 5 years of inventory, assuming nobody else lists a boat. They will. Now the bill. Start with the obvious line. The purchase gap, $160,000. That is not a rounding error. That is a house in some parts of this country. And the salesman's answer to it is always the same. Stretch the term. 20 years instead of 15. He isn't solving the gap. He's spreading it thin enough that you stop looking at it. Write it down. $160,000 before you have untied a single line. Next, the slip. Marinas price by length, everybody knows that. What buyers don't know is that they do not price catamarans by length. They price them by the space you occupy, and a Lagoon 450 is 25.5 feet across the beam. She does not fit a 45-foot finger slip. She takes the berth 2 boats were supposed to share. So the marina charges a multi-hull premium. 20 to 50% at most places, double at some. A 45-foot slip on the Florida coast runs $20 to $50 a foot a month. Call it 25, and your monohull owner pays about $1,100 a month. The cat pays the premium on top of that at 50%, closer to $1,700. $7,000 a year for water, the same water. Then there's the yard, and this is where it gets expensive in a way nobody warns you about. Most travel lifts in this country, the 50 and 75-ton machines that every working boatyard runs, top out around 22 feet of beam. Your lagoon is 25 and a half. She does not fit. Which means you don't get to call 5 yards and take the best price. You get to call the 2 yards on your coast that can physically lift you and pay whatever they tell you. And what they tell you is a premium, 25 to 50% extra just to haul and block a multi-hull. On top of that, you're painting 2 hulls, 2 rudders, 2 sail drive legs. More paint, more prep, more hours. You are not just paying more. You gave up the right to negotiate. Figure $3,000 a year, every year, in yard bills the monohull owner simply never sees. Now 2 engines. The salesman sells this as redundancy, and he's right, I'll come back to that because it's a genuine virtue. But redundancy has an invoice. Twin Yanmar 57S on SD 60 sail drives. 2 oil changes. 2 impellers. 2 sets of anodes on legs that sit submerged 365 days a year. And then there's the seal. Every sail drive has a rubber diaphragm where the leg passes through the hull. It is the only thing between the ocean and your engine room. Yanmar says replace it every 5 years. Volvo says 7. The job runs $2,500 to $4,000 per drive because the engine has to come off its mounts to do it. Own a catamaran, multiply by 2. That's $5,000 to $8,000, at least twice in a decade, on a job the monohull owner with a shaft and a stuffing box has never even heard of. Call the engine room difference $2,500 a year, and I am being generous. On the rig, I'll give the cat a fair shake. She has 1 mast, 1 set of wire. No doubling there. But that wire is on the same clock every rig is on, 10 to 15 years, or before any offshore passage, whichever comes first. Anybody selling you a 20-year-old boat with original standing rigging is selling you a bill and calling it a bargain. The sails are where the cat quietly takes it back. A cruising cat carries no backstay, which means an enormous roach on that mainsail, and the loads are savage because a catamaran doesn't heel to spill a gust. She stands there and takes it. The sailmakers build for that. North Sail's multi-hull people will tell you flat out, the base cloth on a cat main runs about 50% stronger than the same size monohull sail. Upsized corner rings, heavier thread, stiffer battens. Same 45 feet, more sail, heavier cloth, bigger bill. $2,000 a year across the life of a wardrobe, easy. Then insurance. Private use hull coverage on a monohull tends to land around 1.5% of declared value. On a cat, it's commonly 2 to 3%. Sometimes more, wider beam, twin engine systems. Bridge deck damage as its own category of claim. Run it. $285,000 at 1.5% is a little over $4,000 a year. $445,000 at 2.5% is over $11,000. $7,000 a year. And here's the part that stings. The premium isn't punishing the hull. It's punishing the number on the survey. You are paying every year to insure the money you spent. If this is the kind of arithmetic the man with the brochure will never run in front of you, do me a favor, tap that like button, then hit subscribe. I put out a couple of these every week, and there's always another boat coming. Now let me defend the Catamaran, sincerely, because I've spent 10 minutes making her sound like a mistake, and she is not one. Start with the money, because this is the argument nobody makes properly. Yes, she costs more every single year you own her. She also hands a lot of it back on the day you sell. Lagoon, Leopard, Fontaine Peugeot. The big names hold roughly 60 to 70% of their value at the 5-year mark. Meanwhile, that monohull you bought for $285 is floating in a market with 5 years of unsold inventory ahead of it, where brokers will tell you privately that a third of the boats listed today may never find a buyer at all. The cat is expensive to own and easy to sell. The monohull is cheap to own and hard to sell. That is the honest trade, and any salesman who hides either half of it is working you. And then there's the part that has nothing to do with money. She doesn't heal. If you're 62 with a bad back and your wife has spent every passage of the last 10 years flat on the cabin sole with a bucket beside her, then she doesn't heal is not a luxury feature. It is the difference between cruising and quitting. She draws about 4 feet, so the Bahamas open up in a way they never will for a 6-foot fin keel. And those 2 engines, the ones I just billed you for, mean that when one of them quits in a squall off Cape Lookout, you motor home on the other one. I've delivered both. I would never tell you the Cat is the soft option. I'd tell you she's the boat that lets a lot of good people keep going who would otherwise have stopped. So here's the number. Slip premium, $7,000 a year. Yard, $3,000. Engines and drives, $2,500. Rig and sales, $2,000. Insurance, $7,000. That's $21,500 a year before a single surprise, and there are always surprises. Over 10 years, that's $215,000. Add the purchase gap, $160,000, and you're standing at $375,000. Now give her the credit she's owed. 10 years on, the Cat will likely hand you back something in the neighborhood of $100,000 in resale that the Monohull will not. Fair is fair. Take it off. $275,000. That is the real price of the flat floor. $27,000 a year. Roughly $2,300 a month every month for a decade. And it never arrives as one bill, which is exactly why nobody adds it up. So what would I do with my own money? If the Cat is the boat, and for some of you it honestly is, I would not buy the phased-out charter hull. I'd buy the one that was built for an owner in the first place, a Manta 42. Built in Florida, designed around a cruising couple. And she runs $160,000 to $255,000 on the brokerage market today. She never spent 5 years being taught how to sail by strangers. And if you're set on that Lagoon 450, you do this and you don't skip it. Over 1,000 have been built since 2011, and there's a known issue with the forward bulkhead, around 40 cases reported to the builder. Lagoon covers the inspection and supplies the reinforcement kit, so you get that inspection, in writing, before the money moves. No paperwork, no deal. And if it's the Monohull, a caliber 40 LRC, about $165,000 for a clean one. Built in Clearwater, encapsulated keel, cutter rig, 1 engine, 1 bottom, 1 bill. Then take the money you didn't spend, put it in the cruising kitty, and go stay gone for 3 years. Because that's what this whole exercise actually taught me. The Catamaran is not a ripoff. She is a bigger boat that costs like a bigger boat, and hides it behind a length number. And it puts a finger on something I keep circling back to. Some used boats hold their money, and some of them bleed it out at the dock, and it has almost nothing to do with the badge on the transom. That's the next one. The boats that hold their value, and the handful that actually gain it, while everything tied up around them quietly sinks. You'll want that list before you sign anything. Until then, don't let anybody hurry you off the dock. The right boat will still be there when you've finished the arithmetic, and she'll still be under you 3 days out when the arithmetic has stopped mattering, and there's nothing left on the horizon but weather.